All right, welcome. This is DB Talking Now, DB Talking Birds, DB Talking Philadelphia Eagles. Welcome, guys. I know that I was live with you guys earlier, live with Patrick J. Again, sorry that we cut the segment a little short, but I wanted to jump back on here and do, kind of do a segment where, where we can cover up anything that we missed. Anything that we missed, guys, and we can have an open conversation. And I just kind of want to do a quick recap as well. Obviously, today the Eagles signed safety ball hawk Anthony Harris, former Minnesota Viking safety Anthony Harris. Obviously has ties to Jonathan Gannon. Jonathan Gannon was the DB's coach for the Vikings back in 2017. So the connection there is strong, guys. And hopefully that strong connection can continue. And then also other big news as well. I mean, cornerback Adoree Jackson is going to visit the Birds on Tuesday. He does have a visit lined up with the Giants on Monday. So the hope is this. He gets out. He gets out of the Giants without a contract, and he goes and visits the Eagles, and we're able to pluck him out of the air, and then we can fortify that secondary with Adoree Jackson and Anthony Harris. And I'll tell you this, guys, if we can do that, adding those guys to a secondary that already includes Darius Slay, I'm gonna feel really, really good about this secondary moving forward. I'll say that. AJ Styles, what's up, my man? Welcome. So what we're doing right now, I mean, I did my live stream earlier with Patrick J, and so right now we're just kind of filling any empty spaces. You know what I mean? We can talk about whatever you want to talk about. We're gonna recap this thing so far and go wherever you want to go. I really like the signing of safety Anthony Harris. I think he's going to bring a lot to this secondary, and I think it adds a different element to the defense and really shows us a lot of what Jonathan Gannon is all about. You know what I mean? I think Anthony Harris is going to bring a type of versatility that we haven't had in quite a while. How many guys do we have in Philly? How many guys do we have in Philly? How many secondary guys? How many free agents do we have? If you mean free agents, AJ, we re-signed Trevon Hester. We signed the special teams ace from the Bucs, the safety. I can't remember his name off the top of my head. We re-signed Adrian Killens. So we only signed really two outside guys so far. But we have Adoree Jackson. He's visiting cornerback Adoree Jackson. He's visiting on Tuesday. And so that's going to be really good news. Adoree Jackson is a really good cornerback. Obviously, when he was coming out of the draft, the year he got drafted, he ran the fastest 40-yard dash out of all the cornerbacks, and then turned into quite a good player for the Tennessee Titans. And so he was one of those guys that was kind of a shock when he got released. But they had to clear up some cap space and things of that nature, and bringing him into this secondary on top of adding Anthony Harris would be huge, would be absolutely huge. And really fortify that defense. But I like what they're doing. I like what they're doing so far with Jonathan Gannon. Jonathan Gannon is clearly looking for guys that can play multiple roles, and Anthony Harris is one of those guys. He has that versatility to kind of play all over the field, kind of like a Malcolm Jenkins, and has the agility and athleticism to do that. And I would say Adoree Jackson has the same exact skill set, so to say. I mean, he can play outside corner. He's fast enough to play slot, but obviously we would probably line him up outside, just because we need to add a cornerback who can play opposite Darius Slay. We have to upgrade at that position. I think as far as when the season ended, the idea was, we would get Avonte Maddox back, and he would play the slot cornerback. But who knows? Who knows? It all depends on what Jonathan Gannon and Nick Sirianni want to do with that defense. And how they feel about Avonte Maddox. But bringing in those guys would definitely help us and put us in a really good position moving forward, especially going into the draft. Because hey, if they add those guys and then they see Asante Samuel Jr. there at pick 37, and then they're able to add Asante Samuel Jr., then all of a sudden you have starters in your secondary who are good and upgrades from what we had last year, and you have depth. How many quarterbacks? One. We have one quarterback on the roster right now. And Howie Roseman and Nick Sirianni said that at their press conference yesterday. Nick Sirianni is constantly barking up the tree of Howie Roseman to try and get him to bring in a quarterback. So those are some other moves that need to be made. So there's definitely still moves that need to be made here in Philadelphia. And they have a limited amount of cap space, and the one thing about this too, about the cap space, is Adam Kaplan certainly always talks about this on Inside the Birds with Jeff Mosher, is when it comes to the cap room and the number that they have, it's really hard to get a grasp of exactly what that number is, because it's so fluid, right? It's always changing. So unless you're actually getting the exact amount from team sources, it's hard to know. But Howie Roseman is smart in that way. He is good with numbers. We have to give him that credit. And the guys in the front office, like, they know what they're doing, so they know how to manipulate the cap room if they're low. And Patrick J and I kind of talked about this a little bit as well. I mean, there is the Deshaun Watson rumors. Deshaun Watson is such a good quarterback that there's not many teams that shouldn't be interested in Deshaun Watson. And so would the Philadelphia Eagles be able to make that move? And would their cap room keep them from being able to make that move? No, of course it wouldn't. Because they would find a way to make it happen. But there's a lot of things about Deshaun Watson right now that are coming out. There's a lot of allegations, civil lawsuits, civil suits against Deshaun Watson that don't look really, really good for him. So teams are closely monitoring that situation and seeing if it's worth trading, seeing if they should go forward with it. But as far as I'm concerned, according to Jason Lockenfora of CBS Sports, the Philadelphia Eagles have shown interest and have contacted the Texans about Deshaun Watson. And I think that's something that they should do, as long as his legal stuff gets cleared up. And if it's not an issue, if the legal stuff is not an issue, then I say Howie Roseman should go for it. But yeah, so right now we only have one quarterback, and that's one of those things that worries me. AJ, I know that you were interested in Joe Flacco. Joe Flacco is still on the market. I know that he was talking to the 49ers. We'll have to see if that happens, but we'll just have to see. We'll just have to see what they want to do. I know that they were interested in Jacoby Brissett, but he signed with the Dolphins. So they are in a tight spot. It's one of those situations this year where I don't think they expected themselves to be in the situation. I think they're upset that they're in this situation, and I think it's quite a bit of a pickle that they've found themselves in. But that just makes the Anthony Harris signing that much more sweet, and that much more better, because he is a high quality safety. He is a high quality safety. He was ranked tied for first by Pro Football Focus since 2018 as the top rated safety in the NFL. So we got a good one for cheap. 1 year, $5 million. 1 year for $5 million. So that's pretty good. It's pretty darn good. And another thing too, Malik Hooker, safety Malik Hooker, former Indianapolis Colts safety, who is coming off of an Achilles injury, is visiting the Cowboys. That's obviously not good news for us. And as I've mentioned before, like, Malik Hooker was one of my free agent targets that I wanted, but But we'll just have to see if that pans out. Even though they signed Anthony Harris, I still think they should try and make a move for Malik Hooker. We have the ties with Jonathan Gannon and Nick Sirianni for Malik Hooker, and adding another secondary and adding as many secondary pieces as you can to a weak secondary is not a bad idea. You know what I mean? And AJ Styles says, do I think they'll add a kicker? I don't know. I think that they like Jake Elliott. I think Jake Elliott just had a down year. I know that we did just lose Cameron Johnston. He was signed today. I don't remember by who. But somebody signed Cam Johnston, our punter. So we'll be in the market for a new punter, obviously. But kickers and punters, those guys are kind of those guys kind of are, you can kind of find undrafted. They are kind of easier. They kind of are easier targets to find. If we can get a punter who can down it in the 20, or in the within the 15-yard line every single time. I wish we could find one. That's gonna be a need. Cameron Johnston was good. I think I think we'll need another punter. I think we're definitely gonna need to add another punter. Kicker, I think they still like Jake Elliott though. I still think they like Jake Elliott. They'll probably bring somebody in to compete with Jake Elliott just because he did have such a down season. And we'll see how that plays out in training camp if they have it. But I think they're definitely going to bring somebody in to compete. The other thing to notate as well, AJ, is obviously, Kenny Golladay is still on the market. And Kenny Golladay did leave New York. The New York Giants facility without a contract. Apparently, the reports are that both do have mutual interest. But Kenny Golladay has ties to Darius Slay. So that's one of those things that we could keep our eye on. And the reason why, even though we have a limited amount of cap room, the reason why I say these things is because these guys are not getting the deals this year that they thought they were going to get. The market's not very generous this year, and the reason for that is because there is a limited amount of money to spend for the teams that don't have it, just because of the way things went this year and how everything was so different. But we'll just have to see how it pans out. I wonder what will happen. I wonder what will happen with Kenny Golladay, where he'll go. But I do like the Eagles' approach so far. With what they're doing, especially over the last couple days. I think that bringing in Anthony Harris, having Adoree Jackson come in on Tuesday. Those are, and he's only 25 years old. Adoree Jackson's only 25 years old. So they're building the right way so far. We're not going out and signing flashy guys. We're not going and spending the wrong way. Reasons being, obviously, we can't. And I just think that they're trying to take a different approach this year, and I'm glad that they are, because obviously we've seen them take the other road, and the other road didn't work out, because the other road got us to where we are now, obviously. So there's that. And I want to touch on the Juju Smith-Schuster thing for a little bit, and I kind of overlooked this earlier when I was on live with Patrick J. Adam Schefter did report that the Eagles were a secret team that did offer Juju Smith-Schuster a multi-year deal, and that he turned it down. But shortly thereafter, and this is what I forgot to mention earlier, is that shortly thereafter, Adam Schefter did come back out and say that actually it was Juju Smith-Schuster's agent who called the Eagles to see if they were interested in Juju Smith-Schuster. And the Eagles the Eagles declined. So I think that was a good move. I think that the Eagles are looking for other types of wide receivers other than Juju Smith-Schuster to fill the roles that they need on offense, and I just don't think we need that type of player in our locker room right now. He is a guy who is known for his celebration antics and things of that nature, and I think right now we just with our sense of rebuilding and things like that, and kind of rebuilding the foundation of Philadelphia, we just kind of need to get back to a state of humility in a sense, and Juju Smith-Schuster is kind of the opposite of that at this stage of his career. So nothing to take away from Juju Smith-Schuster, but I just think that we need to go on it. We would have needed to go in a different direction. That's all. But I'm really excited. I want to touch on Zach Ertz as well. I was just listening to Philly 500 and what he was saying on the Zach Ertz situation, and I really liked what he had to say. And Philly 500 basically said, that he wants the Eagles to stand pat with the 3rd round pick. Obviously, yeah, I do too. I think Zach Ertz is worth a 3rd round pick, and I think if that's what the Eagles are still looking for, then they should stay pat, and that's what they should stand by. Because I believe Zach Ertz is still worth that, and I think that they should take this thing into the draft. I mean, his contract is guaranteed at this point. We've passed that March deadline, obviously. So we would have to trade him to get his contract off the books. If we released him, it would be dead money, and we obviously do not want that. So I think that they'll take this thing into the draft. The one thing that Philly 500 did say, though, that I do disagree with is if we keep him for another year, it could keep us from drafting Kyle Pitts. I disagree with that. I don't think it would keep us from drafting Kyle Pitts. I think Kyle Pitts, if we're interested in Kyle Pitts, we're going to take him no matter what. Unless Jamar Chase is still on the board. But Patrick J and I concretely believe that Jamar Chase might come off the board at 3 to the Miami Dolphins. So there's that as well. But we'll have to see again how all of this pans out. I do want to talk about my feelings towards the press conference of Nick Sirianni and Howie Roseman a little bit more, AJ, and I'll say this is again, I touched on this the other day, is I feel like Nick Sirianni does have a little bit more control than we are giving him credit for. That's kind of one of those things that I took away from that press conference is Nick Sirianni has a little bit more control than we're giving him credit for. And I like that. I watched the press conference, and I'm starting to like Nick Sirianni more and more by the day. More and more every time I see him give a new press conference. I like how passionate he is. I enjoy how knowledgeable he is about the game, and talks about the different schemes, and he brings a sort of magnetism. He brings a sort of magnetism to this franchise that I don't think we've seen in quite a long time. In fact, I don't think we've seen this sort of energy from a head coach probably since Andy Reid. Honestly, I mean, I've shared my feelings about Doug Peterson. I like Dougie P when he was here. It only came to about 2019 and 2020 when I really started to get frustrated with Doug Peterson. So I like the direction that they're going with Nick Sirianni. I love the fact that he can go in and out and talk about every little detail about every single one of his coaching staff members. And he talks about, getting to know each and every single one of his players, their strengths, their weaknesses, what does each player bring to the table? What does each player do well? And how does that player make the other player better, and their fundamentals and things of that nature? And then how he talks about the franchise quarterback and is it a wide receiver that's going to make the franchise quarterback better? Is it a running game that's going to make the franchise quarterback better? Is it a great defense that's going to make the franchise quarterback better? There's so many different ways to build around your franchise quarterback. And I love the fact that he addressed that, because that could have been where we went wrong with Carson Wentz. There are many different ways to build around a franchise quarterback. And so, the Eagles didn't really have a top-notch defense. We had a coach who continuously got away from the run game with Carson Wentz. He ended up having his wide receivers drop the ball. He ended up having his wide receivers not getting open in time. He ended up having an offensive line that continuously broke down. So there wasn't a lot of building around Carson Wentz that actually took place. And so in any of those phases that I just talked about. And so hearing Nick Sirianni talk about that, and Doug Peterson never explained it in such length as Nick Sirianni has. I think it's really refreshing, and I think it's a really good sign moving forward. The other thing I took away from the press conference is that they are not solely committed to Jalen Hurts as the starter moving forward. And that's another thing as well. So I think that I wouldn't say that Kyle Pitts or Jamar Chase is a lock at pick 6, or a playmaker is a lock at pick 6. I think a quarterback at pick 6 is still much in the air. I really do. I still think it's very much in the air. I think it's definitely something that they're going to strongly consider. I think Deshaun Watson is something that they're very strongly consider if they can do it. We know that they have the trade ammunition to do it. So if they feel like that is the necessary move, they're going to do it. Patrick J and I talked about this off air, and the one thing I brought up to him was, well, let's look at it this way. Jalen Hurts is 22 years old, and Deshaun Watson is 25 years old. Now, Deshaun Watson already has his franchise quarterback contract. And let's say that Jalen Hurts plays well enough to earn a franchise quarterback type of contract. Which one is going to be more expensive by the time that Jalen Hurts is 25 years old? So if Jalen Hurts is 25 years old and that contract is like what Dak Prescott just got, I think Deshaun Watson is going to be the cheaper route. That's the thing. And so that means Deshaun Watson, would probably be the better way to go. You know what I mean? And here's the thing too is Jalen Hurts, it's going to be hard for Jalen Hurts to play at the level that Deshaun Watson can. I mean, Deshaun Watson is an extraordinary talent and things of that nature. So I mean, that's just me trying to bring that up as a logistics standpoint. So I mean, if they can pull that trigger without sacrificing many, many years to come, and I think that we can with the added pick that we have, then I think that they should totally do it. Yeah, you want Kyle Pitts at number 6, AJ? I do too. I really like Kyle Pitts. I think Kyle Pitts is one of those guys that they're gonna love to bring in here. I think he's gonna be one of those guys that we're all gonna love to bring in here. He's gonna be, he will be able to line him up all over the field. Wide receiver, tight end, fullback, any one of those things. We'd be able to run many different schemes with Kyle Pitts and have many different formations with Kyle Pitts and do a lot of different creative things. He's an extraordinary athlete. And so I hope that he's still on the board at pick 6. And that is the only worry, is he's so good that he could come off the board before we even pick. But we'll just have to see, we'll just have to see. It will be one of those things. But yeah, no, I would love to bring Kyle Pitts in at pick 6. I would absolutely love to bring Kyle Pitts in at pick 6. So, but tell me what you think about the possibility of bringing in Deshaun Watson. What do you think about the possibility of the Eagles, wanting to add Deshaun Watson to this team? I mean, obviously, if there's no legal trouble, he clearly makes, he clearly makes the quarterback room a hell of a lot better. He really, really does. He really does. If Sean Watson didn't have any legal trouble, and we still don't know if there is, we still got to see how that plays out. He would make this quarterback room a lot better. A lot better. I see that somebody else just joined. This is an open conversation and just doing a quick recap. Please leave your comments and questions in the comment box and we can get to talking. But yeah, no, and so as I was saying before, AJ, I think at the end of the day, what we would probably have to give up, we would probably have to do like a Matthew Stafford type trade, and probably another player and maybe another pick as well. So we're probably looking at like Jalen Hurts, 2 first-round picks and a third, and maybe like Brandon Brooks or something, something of that quality. And if it's Brandon Brooks or Lane Johnson, don't hate me for saying this, but I think I would do it. Gotta be honest. I think I would do it. Because Deshaun is just one of those guys who will make your, and Nick Sirianni talked about this too. Deshaun is just one of those guys that will make your team better. He will make the guys around him better. Like Aaron Rodgers does in Green Bay, like Tom Brady does. He makes his wide receivers better. He just does. And we saw this happen so many times the last season with the Texans, is that it doesn't just take one guy to win it all. You know what I mean? Deshaun was given a lot of opportunities last season to win the game, and he just couldn't get it done. But nothing against Deshaun Watson. When your team isn't doing well, it takes an entire ball club to win these things, man. It's not just solely on one man. So, but something like this has never happened in the history of the league, where a 25-year-old quarterback, who is at the top of his game, and about 28 teams in the NFL would benefit from his services, is available for trade. Is absolutely available for trade. So, it's just absolutely crazy. It's just absolutely crazy. But other than that, AJ, that's kind of what I wanted to do. Before the night ended, I just wanted to hop on here and just do a quick recap of free agency, do a quick little bit of talking. Patrick J and I will be back on live tomorrow, and we'll be talking about we're going to be going over the AFC, actually. So we're going to be doing the AFC East. So we'll be talking about, we'll be doing the AFC powers that are segment, and we're going to start with the AFC East. Then we're going to do the AFC North and South and West, just like we just did the NFC. And then we'll be talking about their needs and their free agents additions and what the outlook is like for them, and see how they can do going forward. And obviously the Patriots blew up the entire free agency world. They signed pretty much everybody, so or at least within the first few days. And then Patrick J, obviously his one of his favorite teams is the Jets. So we'll talk about them. We'll talk about the Bills, obviously. So and just the potential of them going forward. And obviously they have Josh Allen, who continues to get better, and they've made some decent moves. So we'll talk about them as well. and the Texans, obviously. So we'll definitely go that route. So, but anyway, this is DB talking now. DB talking Birds. DB talking Philadelphia Eagles again. AJ, thank you for jumping on, man, and listening to me talk a little bit. I just want to do a quick recap. But you have a beautiful evening, my man, and stay safe and stay healthy, and one love, and go Birds, baby.